The Public Service Union presents Psu Speaks, an interactive, informative, bi-weekly program discussing matters affecting the working class. Tune in to Nice Radio on 90.3, 96.7, and
I can wait
101.3
until
every
I'll be back
second
to
and
them.
fourth Monday, 8 to 10 p.m. PSU Speaks.
Yes,
Don't you miss it.
Hey, what's the places you walk in mind? The way you talk, say you talk. Watch out for the vampire who will sneak up in the dark, in the dark. Watch out for the big time people who claim say that them smart. They're bringing the crack and the gun to come and shut the youth them heart. Later and red. When you roll and look, they wanna see bread. I hear an next you dead. Whoa, later and red. When you roll and stick, they wanna see bread. I hear an next you dead. Yeah. Watch it. Mark of the beast are coming and are sneaking under man feet. A revelation time, check the signs of the time. They're not please. When you study you, they let out the street and you know say things are go sweet. Man a hustle, man a shuffle, hungry belly, they are yard, can't find food to eat. Later and red.
Hello, what's going on?
I hear that you dead. Tell the man them pull down the gun. Back and turn your back and let our life calm down. Eat all the time we should have some fun. Give thanks to Jack as the man soon come. Tell the man them let the body tricks. Back and turn your back and let a man get tricked. Mama, red and red. When you hold a look, they hold a people. I hear that you dead. Whoa. Hey, watch the places you walk and mind the way you talk, Watch out for the vampire who will sneak up in the dark, Watch out for the big time crook who claim say that them smart. But I bring in the crack and the gun to come and shut the youth them heart.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and wherever my voice is being heard in Radio Land, good night. Special good night to the staff and members of the Public Service Union. As we embark on another informative and interactive program, we urge you to tell a friend or loved one that PSU Speaks is on. So tonight we will be looking at several topics, and they are uncontrollable crime in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, freedom of association, the right to join a union, and contractual work. In studio tonight, we have no other than Brother Elroy Boucher, the President of the Public Service Union, Sister Shellyan Alexander Ross, the General Secretary, Sister Nayoka Cupid, the Youth Chair, and we have a special guest with us tonight, Jeannie Oliver, the Director of Marian House. She will be joining us. She will be joining us online. And I am yours truly, Sister Lani Providence, the Assistant General Secretary. So the number to call to make your contribution is 4565967. That's 4565967. And the WhatsApp number is 4983802. So we're just gonna ask our guests to bring us warm greetings. Sister Oliver, Sister Oliver,
Her mic is on. What if she's hearing?
Your mic is on. Should I go ahead and give me oil
Good night. Good night, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's always a pleasure for me to be here on PSU Speaks as we deliberate and as we speak about the issues affecting our members and the country on a whole. Um, I don't need to introduce myself. I think that was done already by Madam Chair. So I'm hoping that we can have an interactive program. You know, persons would meet you ever so often and they would say, "Oh, I'm listening. I usually would listen," but they would not call and engage us. We want you to call, engage us, challenge us, share a story, share with us. That's how we're
What's
going to
going
grow.
on?
Sister Oliver, I think she's trying to.
Sister Oliver, are you hearing us?
We can hear her background. So, Brother President, greet your members.
Good night to all listeners of Nice Radio and members of the public service and all the statutory bodies that we represent. Good night to one and all. Good night to workers in St. Vincent. And I mean all workers, regardless of where you work. Of course, your interest with respect to your rights at work is also our interest. And I trust that tonight's discussions will be fruitful and that there will be a contribution, of course, from you, the listener, to make the discussion even more enriching.
Hi, good night, everyone. I am Nayoka Cupid. As per usual, it's wonderful to be here with you guys. I look forward to discussing these topics, and as per usual, I look forward to your contribution.
Thank you. Sister Oliver,
Something is wrong with your because to me we're hearing her background, but she's not.
we saw her a while ago.
I don't know if it's an
internet
connection.
You have to share.
Sister Oliver, are you hearing us?
We should be able to do WhatsApp.
Can we?
She will call it on WhatsApp, but I'm seeing her online.
We're
So
actually
let's just
seeing her.
WhatsApp.
Given our last discussion 2 weeks ago in respect to juvenile crimes and what the state is doing to rehabilitate or reform these youths, and the recent development of the crime committed by two juveniles to murder of another juvenile. So on the 30th of September 2024, the body of a 13-year-old boy was found half naked with head injuries at Cyan Hillby. On October the 4th, two minors were arrested and charged. Now the age of these minors are 11. The female is 11 and the male is 15 years old. So tonight we want to hear from Sister Jeannie Oliver, and she is the director for Marian House. Sister Oliver, are you hearing us?
Again,
We seen her actually, you know, she
So
there.
she is online but can't
Yes, we
connect.
seen her, but
So we can just go on until.
Well, before sister, while we wait on Sister Jeannie to get on, and I know she has some expertise in that area. So some of the questions that we, of course, that I have been pondering, I'm hopeful that Sister Olivia will be able to shed some light on that. Um, in reading the story or I was listening to an interview on Eyewitness News with Zita, and I think Zita Banuel, who is the lawyer for one of the juveniles. And I heard, of course, that one of the things she was asking is um, the police have locked them up. Yes, they cannot, by law, they cannot be held with other prisoners. So, is there any special place for them to go,
Great question.
for them to be held? Um, and it seems to be the case. It seems to be that may not really, that may be a problem in the first place. So you have, these youths committing crimes, and in this case, very, very serious crime that, that they have been alleged to have committed, and they are picked up by the police. They can't be kept wrong at the barracks. There's no provision for them there. Um, and they are supposed to be kept in, special place for children, not to be mingled with the adults. And that was one of the queries the lawyer had. And I think she alluded to the fact that there is no such place to house
Hello.
juvenile criminals. Yeah, it may be an abdication of responsibility by the state. But maybe, as I said, Sister Jeannie should be able to shed some light on those things for us if there's any such things available. So
Okay.
you can try on Lanik.
Sister Oliver, good night.
Good night.
Right.
Welcome to PSU Speaks.
Thank you.
And tonight, the topic that you would be speaking on, we are talking about the crime being committed by two juvenile who were picked up by the police allegedly for killing the 13-year-old Matthew D'Souza.
Yeah. Okay.
So you are our expert tonight, right? We need some suggestions,
Okay.
right? The law says that these youths cannot be imprisoned, that you cannot imprison a juvenile. Is that correct?
No, it's a piece of legislation that speaks to that.
Mm-hmm.
It says the age of criminal responsibility is 12 years. A child under 12 years shall be presumed not to be responsible for an offense that he or she is alleged to have committed. And the child under 12 shall be presumed not to have the capacity to know the difference between right and wrong unless otherwise proven.
Thank you for
So
that.
that is the reality in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with the age of criminal responsibility.
Okay, so you are the director for Marian House. What services is offered by Marian House to help children, especially those who are on the street, those who are neglected by their parents, per se?
Well, we consider them vulnerable, marginalized, at risk, and living below the poverty line. Not only those on the street, but those whose parents do not have the capacity to deal with them in terms of how to communicate with them, how to speak with them, how to show them love and care and affection. So we offer a full-time 1-year program for youths between the ages of 15 to 25. And it's a full-time 1-year component program. And as part of that program, the child that we're dealing with, the youth that we're dealing with, must identify a mentor from their community, somebody who is able, who know them well and who is able to reach out to us. Is more or less the link between the community and Marion Home. The program leads to sustainability. They spend 6 months with us, the institute for 3 months, and they go out on attachment for 3 months, where they practice the skill that they would have been taught at the institute, and we have an 84% employment rate. Part of that program also looks at psychosocial situation, the psychosocial challenges that the youths are facing. It means therefore that not only the mentors, but we also have to relate with the parents on a regular basis, all during the 12 months of the program. So if it means that the parents come in, we also have to do some counseling with them, not only with the youth, but with the parents as well. And we try to build the parents' capacities, their parenting capacities, to assist them in dealing with the child, or to address the challenges that the children are facing. So that's just one of the programs, the youth program, and of course we have the parenting program, where we cater to the needs of the parents, the alternative providing alternative parenting for them. Parenting in today's world is not easy, and because of the economic and social degradation within our St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have to do a great deal.
Thank
And coming to meeting, we offer a parenting program as well.
And what is the age group for? Well, I see that you have, this is for the youth, right? You have 15 to 25. But I just
Yes.
want to ask a question. One of the minor, right, that was picked up is under the age of 15.
Mm-hmm.
She's 11 years old. So
So
she's on the street. So do you think what do you think could have been done for, because even the child that was murdered, he's also under that age as well. He's 13 years old.
yes, he is.
Right, but your
You see,
program caters for 15 and up.
yes, but there are tribes, and we also see youths that are sent to us by the court or from schools. There are counselors in the schools, but youths from the schools are referred to us to address the challenges, to assist them in addressing the challenges that they face. So if even the child, even though our program is for youths between the ages of 15 to 25, we also offer full-time psychosocial services to not only children, but to anyone that walks through our doors and seek our service. So we have children that come to us. There are 9-year-olds and 10-year-olds whose parents having some issues, some challenges with them. And so we have to package, prepare specific programs based on the challenges or the challenge that each client would come to us. Because one book cannot be read by all of them.
And how successful are these programs? The programs that you offer?
Well, we just, as a matter, I felt so good. Um, a secondary school um, sent a young man, two young men to us actually. I mean, they have their counselors in the schools there, but for us at Marion House, counseling, providing psychosocial service, is not just providing a service. We are interested, we are motivated, and we have a gut feeling. We feel it down here so. Because we want to make certain that these young people or these clients that come to us, that they are progressing. And we have uh, a teacher from a school called and said, it is so different. These two young men are so different. You would not believe it's the same young men that was there before they came to us for the psychosocial, the provision of the psychosocial service for the counseling. Because we make them feel it's not that you have children and the children bad. We have made the children realize that we love them, we care for them. I mean, you carry a child for 9 months, you give birth, you count all the thing, all the rafters and them in the roof. Huh? We love them, we care for them, but we have to be telling them that on a regular basis. Don't pretend. Show them every day. I speak to my children. I speak to my 55-year-old daughter in Africa every only time I could get for half an hour on Saturday. And from beginning to end, I tell her how much I love her. We have to be telling our children positive messages. And as the persons providing the services, we have to show the children, we have to show the clients that we care about them, that we love them, we're interested in their development, especially the young people. These are the future people. These are who going to rule my country when I start to walk with my stick. And if I ain't treat them good now, they're going to want to push me down when they see me on the street. So I have to love them and show them care and concern and do everything within that is legal to assist them to address the challenges that they face.
So, is it safe to say that the students who normally walk through your doors, right, are from broken homes or from the schools? They are sent there from the schools. So, what happened to those that are actually on the street? Like, per se, like we are dealing with the juveniles, say, because we are dealing with the age range between 13 to 15. So, what happened to those?
Just last week, I said I got a ride and they drove over Mackey's Hill. And across from prisons, there were a lot of men. They're sleeping, cooking, eating. And I just stood up in the center of the road and I screamed. These are older people. So what about the younger ones? Huh? Anytime we meet them, anytime I personally meet them on the street, I grab them. I bring them with me. I stand up and I speak with them, ask them how they're doing. I had one living down at Marion House as you drive down. I put a refrigerator there because I didn't have any bed. The bed couldn't hold in there because it was very narrow. It wasn't wide enough. So I had an old refrigerator. My daughter brought a mattress and pillow and everything for him. And that is where he lived. I put up drapes for him. He got a bucket. He was able to shower every morning. He had his breakfast. And lunchtime, he went down to the Catholic soup kitchen so he could get his lunch. He got his clothes. I mean, and that's what we have to do. At Marion House, we don't have accommodation. We do not. But that was the idea from inception. That was the idea from inception. That the ground floor was supposed to be a rehabilitation center, but it never materialized. But when we meet them on the streets, we bring them. We bring them because we don't have a choice. And you see, my sister, we have an issue. I have an issue. In my day, I was a public servant. In my day, as head of the Women's Bureau, is now gender. All youth, women, culture, adult education, sports were under one ministry, the non-formal sector of education. And every Tuesday we went to the leeward side of the island from 7 o'clock in the morning, coming back up all 10:30 in the night. Starting from Hughes, then to Chateau, then to Rose Hall, then to Barley. When we leave one community, we'll call the other one. We had meetings. My issue is that the groups are not functioning. And if youth groups were functioning, we had a National Youth Council. Where is it today? It fly away in the air. Hmm? Where the community organizations, where the community group? When I left the public service in 2001, there were 98 functioning youth groups. 61 functioning women's group and 42 functioning community groups. Where are they today? And every single Tuesday we went Leeward and every Thursday we went to Windward and we met with all those groups. What happened to the people who are being paid to do that today? If they were doing the work, we would not have the children on the street.
Jeannie, I want to ask a question. I hear your powerful argument there. But looking at this particular crime that was committed by these youths, I've heard allegedly, of course, that the the youth that was killed, for example, found himself, on the street in a gang, etc. But his mother, at the time that she gave birth, she was, is it underage? Is it term used? She was underage, right?
She was a youth.
The the mother for the it is alleged that the mother for the deceased, the child that was killed at the time,
Yeah.
was underage. Now, my question is, because when she left the hospital, being
Mm-hmm.
underage, having given birth, is there anyone with the responsibility to follow up from that time on? Because here is a underage child giving birth to a child and having no clue how to bring up a child. The support system, who checks in on the support system? And if there was a support system then, maybe what is happening now might have been averted. But from that point in time, and there are many kids like that. Their teenage pregnancy and underage pregnancy is has been happening for some time. But who
Yeah.
has the responsibility to ensure that after that point that these underage kids or young teens are not left to struggle by themselves? Because in the first place, many of them become pregnant at that age, perhaps because of parenting issue in the very home that they're living in. Does the state have anything in place? You may not really know that, but is there any other organization that follows up on that to ensure that these juveniles that are at such serious risk are not lost?
So let's go back. Let's go back to And the fact that she was one of our clients. She was one of Marion House's clients.
Okay.
She passed common entrance. Uniforms and books were bought, but she never went to school.
See,
She never went to secondary school.
trend continues.
And I wouldn't go through and to tell you what exactly she did. But that was the reality. When the children are born in hospital, when these young teenage mothers give birth at hospital, the people at the hospital, the social workers of the hospital, have a responsibility to report and action to be taken. I mean, these days they can go back to secondary school, they can go back to school. So that is a plus. But that child's mother didn't want to go to school. She didn't want to go to school. And I wouldn't speak publicly about the discussions we've had, she and I, and how she reached, how things happened to where they're spilling off today. But there needs to be action taken. All of us have got to be activists. We are aware of the legislation as public servants, and we must make the legislation work. Not only for us, but for the clients that we are serving.
Is there a home, Jenny, that in St. Vincent where these at risk youths, even those on the street that you see begging and forming gangs, is there a home other than Liberty Lodge where these kids can be placed for, to be rehabilitated in some way? Is there any home where this can happen?
For, for girls, for the female, there was the Guadalupe Home for Girls, but they had to be in the secondary school.
Ah,
But the children themselves born it.
Twice.
but on the
Recently.
daily,
You
Yeah,
born one and you born
recently.
the
Yeah.
you got the,
Jesus.
They just got back a
the
fresh one.
sisters residence,
Mhm,
Mm.
and you turn around and you born it again.
twice.
So there has to be some it's not only just a home, but I insist and I persist in saying that if groups across our country function, parenting groups, youth groups, community groups, people will be involved and they will have an opportunity to speak about the challenges they are facing, and together discussions can be held about how you're going to address the challenges with they being part of the process. Because you can't sit in your office and decide what they're going to do. Go out there and meet them. That's what you're paid for. And in addition to your salary, you're getting traveling. So go out there, go look for the people and them. Go out on the streets and pick up the young people then. The young boys in particular. Most of them are young men. Huh?
Sister Oliver, is there a law in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that holds a parent or parents accountable?
Um, there is no piece of legislation per se. It depends on if the parent abuses the child, then, and I mean I'm talking about physically or sexually, then the parent will be held accountable. But generally, no. Generally, no. That is why you have so many children on the street.
But Jeannie, like in
Even the
this,
community, if the community groups are functioning, all the young and old men that are on the street would not be on the street
That's right.
but doesn't the state have a
because the
responsibility,
community
Jeannie?
would identify them and assist them
I mean,
in finding
that was
whoever
years
their
ago.
relatives are or in accommodating them.
Sister Jeannie, we are modern.
In the absence of organized groups, we will continue to have this situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
But Sister
It's just
Jeannie,
a pity that Marion House does not
can't,
have
can't be
the
Margaret.
space and the
Can't be the groups
capacity
alone.
to house them.
It has to be
It's everyone.
Sister Jeannie,
a multidisciplinary.
yeah, it can be community groups alone. In the U.S. of for example, one might say that's a developed country, and we are a developing state. But in the U.S., the state has a responsibility to find refuge for these kids, whether foster home or what, right? The state
Yeah.
must have some sort of responsibility.
But they do,
Mhm.
the ministry will identify and put them in foster home.
Okay. So then why?
They will
Well,
So,
that's
identify.
what's the
so then
problem.
how all of
But
these kids are in the street then?
that doesn't mean that the foster parents will give them the love and so on that looking for.
But these kids, Jeannie, these kids have been on the street for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The whole country, world and country know that they have been on the street. So therefore, they were just left, abandoned by everybody, community groups, the state, everybody, because everybody know that they're on the street, as I've been told. They are known to the authorities. They've been committing little petty this and petty that, and nothing really has ever been done till we get to this stage where murder has been committed and they adding to the statistics of the crime rate. I mean, some intervention could have been possible at some particular time, and some intervention for the lessons to be learned from all of this is that there has to be interventions made to avoid these kids being lost, and not just being lost alone, but to protect the states and its citizens. Because if you're in gangs at under the age of 12, 10, and 11, and there is no stopping you, there is no attempt to address the issue or your child, then when you get to adulthood, then you are fully grown criminals. And you say at Marian House deals with kids at 14 and 15. I'm saying some of these kids at 14 and 15, it's more difficult to get them to change from their behaviors that they have literally learned from 10, 11, and 12. It's difficult to get them to change from those behaviors at 15 and 16. Something must be done before that age.
Yeah, but you see, where were the children before 15 and 16?
They're on the street.
Yeah.
Okay, they were in school. They were in school
Okay.
and they were showing their potentials. They were misbehaving. The teachers also have a role to play. I am not putting blame, but reality is reality.
But it's
We have all of us. St. Vincent and the Grenadines don't belong to the government alone. All of us have a part to play. All of us have a role to play. And if the teacher in the school sees a child misbehaving from 5 years old, Jesus have his mercy. I want to tell me they can't do something about it. All the way the 8 and 9 years old, they wait until they're 15 and 16.
That is true.
That's true.
And it's not like in my day and your day. In my day and your day, we didn't have no counselors in no school. Huh? We have no counselors in school. They have counselors in school now and social workers in school. Everybody doing the bachelors and the masters, and they're doing the doctorate. And when they're done, they're putting out the effort.
True.
It's true.
Where were the teachers when the children them were 8 and 9 and 10? Don't wait till they reach 14 and 15. Yes, the parents have a role to play. Yes, they have a role to play. And if the community groups and the youth groups and so on and so forth, and parenting groups are functioning, then we would have a session where we sit and we relate with each other and we come up with identify the challenges and develop strategies to address them. But nobody ain't doing anything. No group functioning. So what the people are doing for? I mean, I have people in the youth department. Why they not going out there and have meetings? Or why they not making certain that the group function? I tell you, they were 98 when I left in 2001. Where them they jumped through the sky?
Well, it's a point I'm making. So if the function of that the ministry, mobilization, that particular ministry is responsible. The ball is being dropped at some stage. So whether between the Ministry of Education, which is the teachers, so whether between the teachers and the Ministry of Mobilization, their counselors and the social workers, the ball is being dropped. And these kids that have just committed this crime, they're not the only kids on the street. They're not the only kids at 10 and 11 and 12 committing petty crimes and not going to school. So that's the problem that we have.
But based on the interview that the mother would have given, the child did not want school. She tried to get help for him by sending him away to the Liberty Lodge.
You run away from there?
Well, she's based on what the other family member said. The child was crying for help because of what he was facing there. So he would run away from there and he would go home to his mother. And whenever he reached home, she would call the authority to take him back there.
You mean he had problems at Liberty Lodge?
Yes.
Jesus.
He said,
So the home that you're
based on
supposed
what,
to be safe.
that's my point. Based on what the other family members were saying, that he said that he was abused sexually there at the home.
Jesus.
But the mother is saying he never told her that. So whenever he ran away and he come home, she would call the authority to take him back.
That's why he never.
So that is why he ran away from there and he lived on the street.
That's crazy.
But then I'm saying, as a mother, how can you sleep at night comfortable in your bed, knowing that your minor children are on the street? That is my concern.
No maternal
Exactly.
instinct. That is how.
And then
Chris,
our society, they talk to social media and they are saying that the government failed, the state fails this youth in particular.
I mean, everyone did.
Everybody did, because person would be like, he was on the street, he was begging, I would give him his daily bread, whatever the case is. The fact remains, he was on the street. Where was the help then that he needed?
But sometimes, Danny, some of us don't even examine the deeper part in terms of he's on the street. Yes, we give him a dollar or two.
Exactly.
But we don't ever examine the root cause. And if you're sending him to Liberty Lodge, which is the only home, and he's having issues there, then where would they be able to turn?
Exactly.
So you really have to blame the state. That's why people, I guess, would have said that to a large extent, that they didn't, they failed him in terms of putting things in place.
Right, so he's no more.
But
and then we have other youths now.
Parents. You have the parents. It's obvious that parents did not have the skill. She did not have the specific parenting skill to help the child. So if when the court took away the child and placed the child at Liberty Lodge, if that is how it happened, then the parents, the mother, and that is what happened with us. The court refer parents to us
to get mandatory
and we deal with them. We deal not only with the child but them as well. we also have to provide, sit and discuss with them, not one time, two times, three times. Eh? There was a young lady who was there from Form 1 to Form 5. She came every single week. Eh? So we have to continue
We have
counseling and
missing gaps. Too many
dealing with,
missing
with,
gaps.
with
Yeah.
challenges that people face. It's not a one-off, one-shot issue. It's a continuous program that you have to implement. You have to listen to them every single time they come, whether you want to or not. That is reality, because you're trying to help them move from there to here, not from worse to worse, but from
True.
She dropped out. Hello?
While we wait for Jean.
how you impart to the mother. Did you discuss and help the mother to develop? Eh? What sort?
It seems like a lot of focus is on the child or children,
Mm.
and you're looking at the other side
We
in
have
terms of
to,
the teenage
yes,
mothers who
you,
need the guidance.
all
Yes,
of us have to get
guidance.
up and get.
It's true.
This is not a government issue. Our issue. NGO, private sector, and government.
Yeah, but it needs resources, Jeannie. Whether human resources and other resources, it need a lot of resources to address these kind of issues. And if you say in the past it may have worked, now we have more human resources because you
And
have
let's
people
work.
trained in different fields and employed to get this done. So it's the state apparatus that needs to pick up and do more, whether it means re-engaging community groups, that this the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. It's not even practical in St. Vincent anymore, and we have literally moved away from that old system that you grew up with in the 1980s and
Parents would
such
fight
doesn't
you.
really exist. So all of these kids are just being lost, and if they're being lost, the state, and when I say the state, I'm not talking about the politicians. The politicians sets policy, but if part of their policy is they have a department that deals with all of these things, then and we are still failing them, then we ought to go back to the
To
drawing
the
board
drawing
as
board.
a government, look at the weaknesses and see where we can have different strategies to address what is happening. That is how you solve problems. It's not a blame game per se, but there are some serious gaps, and those gaps, one just need to go back and look at how those gaps can be filled. It requires different
You,
strategies. It's the same like
you
the
see,
crime situations.
you
But that's my
see, they are not only the groups that are not functioning, but cabinet established a gender equality commission, and that gender equality commission supposed to deal with issues of inequality and discrimination and those sort of things. I didn't establish it. I didn't set it up. I don't have the power. Cabinet did, but it does not function. And it's things like these, policy issues like these, that we will look at and we're supposed to look at. Just like a child, the rights of the child commission don't function neither. I mean, this is a UN issue.
Yeah.
This is craziness, total craziness. I don't
I miss.
She's on now.
No.
Yeah, well,
well in my day and in your day, but you can't talk to the children and them these days. But we still have to try to talk with them. We cannot allow them to just grow up as though they're birds flying in the air and they don't care. They live somewhere. And so we have a responsibility.
Clearly, we do. So, Sister Oliver, we are about to wrap up because we have more topics to touch on. So, are there any final words?
Just to say that I want to remind that the age of criminal responsibility in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is 12 years. Therefore, a child under 12 cannot be presumed to be prosecuted for an offense
Allah is not
that
useless, man.
he or she is alleged to have committed. And that child under 12 as well shall be presumed not to have the capacity to know the difference between right and wrong. So prosecution of a child 12 years but under 14 must be on the basis of the DPP certification. No child under 12 shall be guilty of an offense. I just want to leave us with those words. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure participating, and I wish you all the best for tonight's rest of tonight's program.
All right, thank you,
Thank you,
Jenny.
Jenny.
Go into mission.
Blessings.
Blessings.
So, on behalf of the Public Service Union, Sister Oliver, we just want to thank you so very much. So, let's
You
take
are
in
most anytime.
let's
Bye
take
bye.
in this
Bye.
one, Education by Sparrow.
Thank you.
Education, education, this is the foundation. Our rising population needs sound education to be recognized anywhere you go. You gotta have your certificate to show. To enjoy any kind of happiness, knowledge is the key to success. Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you go catch real hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl. Don't allow idle companions to lead you astray. To earn tomorrow, you got to learn today. For employment, yes, employment, you must be intelligent. So it's essential, very essential, to have your credentials. But if you're blockheaded like a mule, remember no one will employ a fool. You will be the last one to be hired, and the very first one to be fired. Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you go catch real hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl. Don't follow idle companions or you will get burned. To earn, you got to learn. Illiteracy is man's greatest enemy. It's your duty, yes, your duty, stamp it out completely. Ignorance always in progress. Education saves you much distress. So learn as much as you can. This nation's future is in your hands. Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you gon' catch real hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl. Don't allow idle companions to lead you astray. To earn tomorrow, you got to learn today. It's a treasure, yes, a treasure beyond any measure. So secure it, just secure it, don't ever ignore it. I said the fight life's battles come one way. Education will light up your way. Without it, you'll never get through. Success or failure, now it is up to you. Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you gon' catch real hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl. Don't allow idle companions to lead you astray. To earn tomorrow, you got to learn today. It's imperative. As long as you live, it's your prerogative.
So, welcome back. So, welcome back. In our next half of the program, we will be looking at freedom of association, the right to join a union. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Constitution, under protection of fundamental rights and freedom, states where every person in St. Vincent is entitled to the fundamental rights and freedoms, that is to say, the right, whatever his race, place of origin, political opinions, color, creed, or sex, but subject to respect for the rights and freedoms of others and the public interest. Subsection B speaks about all citizens having freedom of conscience, expression, assembly, and association, including the right and freedom to be associated with a trade union. Do you feel that persons are aware of this right? And is this right to associating being embraced by employers? What are your thoughts?
We have our own expert here. That's Shelley, another expert.
Um, I'm not sure if you're asking. Well, this is a general question you're asking. our thoughts. Well, we know that the Constitution is the highest law of the land. Um, there's no other law that can supersede that. On the well, you read the preliminary area in terms of chapter one, and I think in well, I'm now starting to hear myself. I wasn't hearing myself before. I wonder if persons were hearing you, Lanik. I hope.
My mic is on.
Okay, right. So in terms of um protecting our freedom to assembly and to associate, because that is our major issue tonight as it relates to our members and not giving that opportunity or not giving that encouragement by their employers to be a part of a trade union. So, um, chapter 11, subsection chapter 1, subsection 11, where that speaks to protection of employment and assembly of association. It says, except which his own consent, a person shall not be hindered in the enjoyment of his freedom to assembly and to associate. That is to say, his right to assembly freely and to associate with others, and in particular to form or belong to a trade union or any association for the protection of his interests. Nothing contained in or done under the authority of any law shall be held to be inconsistent with or in contravention of this section, to the extent that the law in question makes provision. I remember, so this basically is straightforward. The law says that you have a right, fundamental right, a basic right to be a part of any trade union that you so desire. I remember we had a difficulty when the Braxtor persons wanted to join, and when the tongue board persons wanted to join, and they were saying, oh no, you under CTAWU and the union can't represent you. Even when we had that with the female attendant, and we wrote to Mr. Knight, we wrote to the minister, and everybody is saying, oh, CTAWU is the one to represent the person. And the members were saying, but this we want the union to represent us. And we find ourselves in position recently where we have the tourism, where we have to figure out that where persons want to be a part of, but they are fearful to be a part of a trade union because you think that you're going to be discriminated against. Your employers wouldn't, or your supervisors would not support. We want our members to know that the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has provided that opportunity for you to be a part of, to form, whatever the case may be. So if you want to be a part of two trade unions, that is your fundamental right. So it's not for you to say, oh, this one can't support you or this one can't defend you. You only have to be defended by the one that you assign to them. Not even them have the opportunity to say which union they want to be a part of. Now, when we talk about freedom of association, what really are we talking about? What I want our members, our viewers, our listeners, those who are on Facebook and view it and listen at the same time, to understand that freedom of association refers to the right of workers to create and to join organizations that represent them, such as a trade union or any employer association. So workers must be free to choose how they are represented, and the employers must not interfere in this process. They are not to interfere in the process of the employees wanting to be a part of. When you have freedom of association, what does that allow you to do? So it allows workers without distinction, they have the right to join, as we said. The employer adopts an open attitude towards the activities of the trade union and whatever organizational activities you have. And the workers representative are not discriminated against, and they have access to carry out whatever function their trade union It's happening. It's happening. I remember the vaccine mandate case. I think you would remember that quite well. When the trade unions called out members. It's in the law that we can do that. And even then, and you were telling persons, listen, you have the freedom to associate, you have the freedom to choose if you join a union, if you don't join a union, because they're representing your best interests. And persons, we were here from night over after night trying to tell people, listen, your trade union have called you out. There's no way that your employer is going to say, I am going to punish you. I am going to put you on suspension. I am going to write you up. It is your fundamental right to be associated with. So if we say tomorrow, well, I don't think we won't be in front of market. We won't be in front of the clinic at Kalakwa because that is where Parliament building is. And your trade union say, okay, let's go because we're fighting for this cause. We're not getting anywhere. We have to, I don't know how else we can say it more simple to let persons understand that this is a right and they can exercise it whenever they so desire to be a part of or not to be a part of. Because the union at the end of the day represents you, it represents your best interest because the employers, they don't want you to be a part of the union. They want to do whatever they want with you whenever. So they're going to, discourage you and tell you this, oh, you can't be a part of that. You can't be a part of this. You can only have this one. You can only have that one. And what is so unbelievable for such of another world, that person that you expect to know that these fundamental rights that's in the Constitution, apparently they don't know it.
I think they don't know.
Well, they can't go, they can't know and be acting so I don't want to say foolish, but it is what it is. That you're saying because when we wrote to the PS and we say okay XYZ, you're sending response to say, well, we were directed by that only CTAW can represent its members, and the members are saying, but no, this is who we want to represent us, this is my right, and you're still saying. So that is why I'm convinced that people don't know. They themselves don't know or maybe they pretend not to know.
So I have a question, Shellyan. So for the persons who choose to exercise these fundamental rights, it's their fundamental rights, and they choose to exercise such and is met with discriminatory retaliation, what course of action would you suggest
What would
for the persons who choose to go down that route?
So the case that I was alluding to a while ago was something like that, where there was an issue, the workers came, they wanted the union to represent them.
Okay.
They were told, well, yes, the union will represent them because that is their choice, the union of their choice. So the union would have written to the persons in the ministry, the PS copy to whoever we thought should have gotten the letter. And we were given the pushback that, listen, the other union, they're basically telling you which union is supposed to represent the person. So we wrote to the minister, thinking that the minister now going to intervene to get it right, that the PS really is wrong what he's saying. And the minister is basically echoing the same thing that the PS said, that the attorney general's office would have instructed them. So then at that time, it becomes a legal issue. Because the union would have tried from our end to let the persons know, okay, this is the grievance and the persons have a right to be represented by us, but you are basically interfering with the process. And that is what that's when we had to refer the case to the lawyers Unfortunately, it didn't reach as far as we would really liked it to. But that would have been a case for the lawyers at that time, because that is what the law said. They basically preventing persons from executing their fundamental right as a citizen of St. Vincent.
Okay.
Well, and the Grenadines. I don't want people to say I talk about the Grenadines.
Another question: what remedies are in place for persons who choose to, I guess, join legal strikes with us? Because we also have there are laws that
Well,
you know.
yes, there are laws like the essential services persons like myself and Paul. Um, those who fall in the essential services. Yes, there are laws and there are protocols that you have to go through. So if because we did it with the vaccine mandate, but you will have to inform the Governor General, give her notice. It's all there in the Central Services Act. It can happen, and the Public Service Union is recognized in law to represent the people. So if your union, and we would have spoke about it um, before, if your union calls you out to strike or to do industrial actions, there's no way that your employer could say, okay, they're going to punish you. That is a legal issue.
Okay, because I was just gonna say
It's a legal issue because it's there in the constitution, it's there in the conventions that we so like to sign on to. And it's in the Protection of Employment Act, so it is there. So it becomes
that
a
is the
legal
remedy.
issue. So
Okay.
if at any time we call you out to do industrial actions and your supervisor or whoever is punishing you or is discriminative or whatever, you bring the claim to us, the grievance to
Okay.
us, and we would deal with it from a legal
Good. This is for all my
standpoint.
young workers.
Yes,
listening.
because I know the young workers and
Yeah.
even some older ones to have an issue when they think that the union called them and they don't want to be seen.
Careful.
They know what we're striking for is the right thing,
Right.
but they don't want to be seen on the picket line. They want somebody else to be there, but them to be.
Yeah.
You have to let them know that they're protected by the law. This is what it says, and the union is going to back you 100% when it comes to that.
Of course. All right. That sounds good. Actually.
Yes. As a matter of fact, the St. Vincent and Grenadines would have ratified the C Convention 85, 87, Freedom of Association and Protection of the Rights to Organize. So ratification means that we are supposed to not only just sign a document, we are supposed to enforce it. Well, it has enforced online. We are supposed to put policies and programs in place to reflect what we signed on to. And they're supposed to, that is why we really want to, they're supposed to report to ILO on these conventions and what things they've been putting in place since they ratified it.
Yeah, definitely.
So we now, I think we've spoken about that before, we to get these reports, I think I really need to push to get Labor Department and Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
It's necessary.
Right, to see what really they have been sending to ILO. Because we can see people are still fearful. We can see that they're not putting things in place to accommodate persons to be free, to associate and to do what the union is doing and so forth. But you have it online that it is being enforced. But what are they doing?
No reports have
It would be
been
interesting to see what they're sending
sent. They didn't send nothing.
to ILO. Because Labor Department. Labor Department. Well, maybe now you can get the report. I don't know.
Telling you, they sent nothing.
But they are mandated
I know.
to send a report.
Well, then
What the union can do, what we can do, is we can look at what they would have sent and we can look at the programs and policies that would have been put in place and how persons are being denied the opportunity to associate. And we can write what they call it, shadow reports, I think, to ILO to say, okay,
Yeah.
the government is saying they're claiming that they have put in place XYZ and people are now free to associate and all of that. But this is reality.
Yeah. And that's the power.
That is the
The
power
trade
that the union has
to.
to do.
Yeah.
We have to hold them accountable, not just signing the document because it is a thing to sign, but is to
Yeah.
make sure that these conventions, when you sign them, that things are put in place to reflect the signing of that document. And that is
That's
what
right.
we're lacking.
That's
And why
right.
we need to be behind them to, do what they're supposed to do and hold them accountable.
That's true. And we're on it. We're on it. Yes, yes, Melanie. Anything
So,
to add?
according to the ratification, right, it also deals with constitutive element of freedom of association. And the objective, freedom of association without interference from the public authorities. So, where are we in terms of the interference part from the public authorities?
In my view, in terms of the interference, well, generally, governments and employers, whether they're private, well, private and governments, a lot of them are, some of them are pro-union, but a lot of them are anti-union. And they're going to put a lot of things in place, and fair as well. If persons don't know their rights or what they are entitled to. Um, and what they would try to do too is to deter the opportunity for the unions or associations, whoever, to meet with their members. So we had a similar, well, a kind of a, maybe you want to refer to, make reference to the printry issue. Well, it's done and gone, but just to mention it. We are aware that we've been trying for a while. The members have been calling for the union to meet. Let's meet. We have issues. We want to sort it out. And we did reach out, trying to get an opportunity to meet with the members. And the resistance, the whole story, the resistance and so forth. So you're going to get that pushback from time to time from employers. And I think they're fearful, in my view, of workers becoming aware, workers becoming informed so that they can make decisions. Not that you want workers to do anything that is outside of the policy of the organization or department, but we want workers to become familiar with their rights so that they, well, I shouldn't say, maybe they would be in a better position not to feel so scared that their employers are going to punish them in one way or the other. So you're going to get that interference, and you're going to get that interference because I think the employers are, when you remain ignorant, people like, to a certain extent, when you're ignorant and you don't know what you're about, and they have that control over you. But the minute you are exposed, and the union has a responsibility to make sure that their members are exposed to this information so that they know, okay, well, all right, I have a right if I want to become a member. And if my union call me out, I can go and feel comfortable that I am protected by the law and my union is going to defend me based on what the law says. That is what work, and you're going to get that. So we want members, the youths, whoever is listening tonight, we're going to have the pushback. We have had it. But the union remains resolute. We have to do whatever we have to do in the best interest of our members. And we want our employers, because some of them don't know themselves. Maybe some of them need to sit in some of the meetings that we're having so that they can become aware that they can't hold the workers hostage and say, well, okay, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Because I am convinced that some of them, as Nayoka said, no, they just pretend that they don't know. Because you can't tell me that The Constitution is saying I have a right. If I want to pay by hand or whatever, and then you come in to tell me, no, you can't do that. I am telling you who represents you in this day and age. I would have really, really liked that case to have gone further and see what the outcome would have been to like a set an example for the persons who may want to try it again with other members. Maybe we should lobby for industrial code here. It would be really interesting because these are matters that would go there quickly without any hesitancy. Once you have persons' rights being violated like that,
But
it's just
the ratification, right? The scope, it covers employers and workers without distinction except armed forces and police.
Yeah.
because remember they have their own laws that guides and governs them.
Have the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines embraced the definition of freedom of association as stated in our Constitution and also under Convention 87?
Not
I would say
fully.
conveniently.
Not fully.
I would say conveniently. You know when it's Public Health Week and the PM like to say, join the union. Be a part of the union. Get actively involved in the union. And in the same side of the mouth, you can't really do what you're supposed to do as a union. But he would encourage you, and in the same breath, you can't get to exercise as a union and do what you're supposed to do. So I would say to some extent, but I would say that it is used conveniently. I don't think it is fully embraced. Because if it was fully embraced, um we would have more persons joining the union because we have a public service force for like what like maybe 7,000 plus by now or somewhere there, and we have just over 2,000 members.
Might not include teachers, yeah?
Well,
And police officers.
so if that was the case where they would have really embraced and wanted to work with the union because they understand the significance of the union, of having the union, we would not have this, and we would have more persons. We would not have this fear that persons have because they would know, okay, this is something that the government welcome. This is something that the government embrace. We're going to have this kind of tripartite discussion, and you understand?
But they understand the power of the union and they are also fearful.
Well,
Remember now, it's the unions mainly that forced a change in government.
Mhm.
So I think they are very much aware of the power of the union and, any attempt to subdue that particular power, of course, while out of one side of your mouth saying, join a union.
Any opportunity they have that could lower the standard or have persons thinking differently of the union, attempt to destabilize the unions. That is their goal.
Yep.
So if that can happen and you weaken the unions, then what?
So finally on this, Lanik, let me just say the two persons who are you're working wherever you're working in a statutory body. So whether you are at let's say Invest SVG or you are at Tourism Authority, or where you have, I think the government has some new small bodies set up. They are under the control of the state enterprise, where may be small in size, and they may have managers who may want to push an anti-union narrative. Thank you for that word. They need to understand that They cannot prevent anyone from joining a union. They cannot. It's a constitutional right, it's a legal right, it's everything. And we have those kind of people. I'm not saying that that exists at Invest SVG or even Tourism Authority or wherever. What's the other one that we have?
Tourism.
Oh, where we have these small state enterprise. I think we have a next one down. I can't remember where. Yeah, with I think it's five persons.
That's where that no.
I don't know where else, but yes, so you have all of these small state enterprise. All of them should be unionized. All workers in the country should be unionized, even those at Sandals. Private, public, and public-private, all should be unionized because that is the only way you're going to guarantee your rights and your benefits and your working conditions. Okay, that's the only how that is the employer with all their best intentions would always be looking not necessarily at your interests fundamentally, but at the interests of the enterprise. So, trade unionism, joining a trade union is your best option to protect yourself as a worker.
There's another just briefly while Radi get all the other point together. We run out of time. Okay, just there's another convention that we would have signed on to. Convention 98, which speaks to the right to organize and collective bargaining. Um, and that also gives union members a right to organize independently without interference from their employers. And this is another one that SVG would have ratified in 1998. So you have the two that you ratified, and still we have issues. And if we're looking at, we like to talk about the sustainable development goals and what we should be doing. It is also linked to that. Freedom of association is reflected in the 2030 SDGs. We talk about protect labor rights and promote safety and secure working environment and all of that. All of that is included, and this is something that the ILO would have embraced. So we like to talk about these fancy words, sustainable development goals, and this is not what we need to do. We need to pay attention in what they say we need to do. We need to do it by 2030. We're now in 2024. So we have a couple years to get it right. So by we get to 2030, people should not be, well, if we live for that time, people should not be afraid to say okay and telling people under the breath that I really want to join the union, but I really afraid because I ain't want them know. We live in too much enlightened times for that. I remember when Joe Biden won and he was giving his speech and how he embraced the unions and saw the value of having the unions on board when they're having the discussion. I don't understand what's going on here. I really don't.
Sharon, I really didn't wanna I didn't wanna come back in, but well, no, but Joe Biden also walked the picket line the other day. Kamala, who is running now, his vice president, walked the picket line, right? So when there was a strike, Joe Biden went on the picket line. When there was a strike recently at the port, Kamala went on the picket line. You understand? We had a strike here. Police come and touch the people house and lock them up. It's just the opposite.
Exactly.
It's opposite
So you have
treatment.
people embracing and
So
you have
you know,
people treating
right.
under the
So you
bus.
know who is in support of unions and who are not.
Exactly. He said that from
You
beginning.
understand? People are
He would embrace the
prosecuted
unions.
for
He
protesting.
would work with
Anyway,
the
yeah.
unions. Because you know
I
the
just
value of having unions. Keep you on your toes to do what you're supposed to do. So kudos to Joe Biden and Vice President Harris.
Let's take this one from vibrating states. Our nation is born.
We're all moving on together. So we must plan collectively for a brighter day. No one knows what's in store for the future. True dedication can get us there. Independence is a milestone in our march to prosperity. Now St. Vincent and the Grenadines have a rare nationality. We are a nation of many races and have tried hard to integrate. The strength of so many faces shall be the prospects of our faith. So in this moment of history, tell it in every community, our nation is born. Colonialism is gone. This is a time of national freedom, so share our love with someone. The 27th dawn of October, our nation is born. One history, one ecstasy, one destiny, for all we. While we take this stand as a nation, let us not forget our past. For this future we praise our heroes who fought slavery to the last. Special honors to Marcus Garvey. His sacrifice gave us all a chance. And all the men who fought in this century to bring us this day of independence. So in this moment of history, tell it in every community, our nation is born. Colonialism is gone. Now this is a time of national freedom, so share our love with someone. The 27th dawn of October, our nation is born. One history, one ecstasy, one destiny, for all are we. Hey, 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 hey. Though some manipulate the franchise of world adult suffrage, there's still hope of a bright tomorrow for all the underprivileged. Let love excel our wishes, our advancement needs plenty of work. Remember, back is that for the nation that upholds less action and lots of talk. In this moment of history, tell it in every community, our nation is born. Colonialism is gone. Now this is a time of national freedom, so share love with someone. The 27th dawn of October, our nation is born. One history, one ecstasy, one destiny, for all of we. Hey, 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 hey. My people join hand in hand now. Put your differences aside. Get your hearts and soul together. We got to build this nation with pride. Work in harmony with good leaders. Never elect no one here to rule. Then we can feel at home like good comrades. Our people must not be election tools. So in this moment of history, tell it in every community, our nation is born. Colonialism is gone. Now this is a time of national freedom, so share our love with someone. The 27th dawn of October, our nation is born. One history, one ecstasy, one destiny, for all are we. Hey, 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 hey.
So, welcome back to the last segment of our program. And the third topic that we will be discussing this afternoon is very interesting. We will be talking about the contractual work, its implication for upward mobility in the public service. This has been a burning issue among public servants. What is the reason why retirees are being re-employed within the public service after leaving to fill jobs that could have otherwise been filled by current public servants in some instances? They are offered a gratuity at the end of their contractual term, which is eating away at the already depleting government pension fund. What is your opinion of this practice by the Public Service Commission?
Well, um, Sister Lalik, as you rightfully mentioned, it's a burning issue. Um, it's an issue that has irritated a lot of public servants who would have been, when you're in certain position and okay, when your boss or supervisor, you just happen to know the age and you prep yourself, whether you go away to study, you do your courses, and you have the years of experience and you're ready. And lo and behold, that they retire and they come back on contract. What does that mean for you? What does that do to your emotional state? And we have cases where it's not that you can't find a suitable replacement within the ministry, within your department. It's not that the person is of a high, well, an expert per se, and you really can't find nobody else to fit. But there are a lot of cases where persons are given contract. Well, we can't get away from the political aspect of it. It's just what it is. That you would have persons who will be given contract based on political affiliation. It just is what it is. Is it fair? Now the CSO, which is now law, and I'm glad I was given this little piece of, well, I highlighted it, which means I read it somewhere and highlighted it. It speaks to re-engagement 8.6, where it says officers who have retired from the public service of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in any other state or territory may be re-engaged by the appropriate authorities. Such re-engagement may be on temporary terms or short-term contract, but it seems like some people don't know the short-term. Maybe short-term mean different to certain people.
Short term. Okay.
And will only be made where, and it is laid out here. One, the prospects of serving officers are not prejudiced. So you have to make sure that it is not going to disadvantage the person who is serving and looking for upward mobility in one way or the other. Two, the vacancy cannot otherwise be readily filled. And three, the retired officer is medically fit in all aspects suitable for re-engagement. So it laid it out here quite clear that you have to be it has to be a position that nobody else can fit, whether you, like, I don't know if we should mention certain positions like what the department. I don't know if we should mention that, but that might be an example to look at, because there are certain areas, certain technical areas, certain sensitive areas that you may not want public servants who are in the system to take up. So it is here. I don't know how much of this, if is any, that Service Commission would read or would really adhere to when they're doing their contracts. So you should not put me at a disadvantage. You know that I am qualified. You know that I want upward mobility. You know that I can do the work. And then you decide. So if I come, my supervisor wants to stay on, and I know that I've been prepping myself all the time. I really can do this work. I have been understudying her. I can do it. There's nothing keeping me back. And you decide that you're going to stay. No, I have to take you to court. Based on what the law says, it shouldn't put me at a disadvantage of getting promotion because you want to be on a contract or they're giving you contract. And some of these contract not even, I don't know if 2 years is short term. Is 2 years considered short term?
For whom?
A year, 2 years, going on 3 years, 4 years, they're still there. It says clear here, temporary terms or on short term. But the amount of time some persons have been on contract, you want to know if they were employed from scratch all over again, they're young again and they're just there and just there. You know what that does to somebody's psyche that has been working in that department for years and years and really looking forward to. Who don't want upward mobility? Who?
Not just psyche, it's also unfair.
It is. And then you still expect me to function and be at my best. And then it says here now the vacancy cannot. So you would have looked all in the department or other adjacent departments or wherever. And this technical field just can't be filled with anybody at all. So let me keep this person on contract until we can get somebody that is equipped enough to fill the position. I remember, I want to share my story a little bit. Maybe I might get my head eat off tomorrow, but it don't really matter. I remember when I came back from Jamaica in 2017. Because you want upward mobility, you go and you qualify yourself and whatever. Because you look at the persons who would go home soon or would have gone already. And when I came back, there were persons in contractual position arrangement. And I was told, there's no space.
There's no space, there's no space.
There's no room.
No room in the end. Go home.
So I couldn't believe you're telling me in one breath that these persons, yes, they are here on contract, month to month, whatever. But in the same breath, you're telling me who has applied for that post that there's no post. So I don't know. I was like taken back, like, how is that even possible? That you have persons still in the position, but you're telling somebody who have applied, who have retired and they're in the position, who have come back and fresh and ready to go. I'm sorry that there's no post. If you were following, well, it wasn't law then, but if you were following what the orders said, or if Service Commission was following what they're supposed to follow and do what they're supposed to do, we won't have all of this nonsense and we won't have all of these persons still there. And persons have to be all stressed out and so forth, waiting for position that may never come. By the time maybe you get your promotion, maybe time for you to retire.
And then maybe you'll be in their spot too.
Maybe by the time you get the post, it might be time for you to retire. If you ever get it, it might be time for you yourself to retire. And then if you get it, you can get the benefits under certain timing. So and then we have to look at, I don't know if they do this aspect in terms of knowing if the officer is medically fit in all their faculties are working, everything. Do they get a doctor's medical report?
They normally do it before you are appointed, but I'm not sure if.
Right, but for this stage where it's saying that you're supposed to make sure before you re-engage them, before you re-employ them, before you give them the contract, this is one of the prerequisites. that you're to ensure that they're medically fit, all their faculties are working and they can function. Who makes sure that is the story?
So if I may say, and Shalan, I am actually going to, because this is a burning issue for me, because I know a lot of public servants who are affected by this. A lot of persons in the service who have come back on contract, while the people in the position who would naturally
Move up.
expect to fill that position, are left just hanging like that. And an example, there are some brilliant pharmacists that we have working in the system. Government pharmacists, well trained, experienced. But it seems like none of them are qualified enough to become chief pharmacists. Because the chief pharmacists continue to have extension after extension after extension. You understand? And all of these pharmacists are there. Now, you are preventing people from moving upwards. You're blocking them, and it's illegal. Because number one, based on what Sharon has just read, and the civil service order is now law, it's now regulations on the Public Service Management Act. Any one of those pharmacists can fill that position, but they're not being given an opportunity to. And any one of them who feel, if they are brave enough, and that's the thing about bravery, some people just don't want to. Listen, just come to the union, let us take the matter to court and get it fixed. Because he should not be acting in the position, he should not be given a contract when there are people who can fill the position. That's what the law says. And there are pharmacists who can fill that position. But year go year come, nothing changing. It is wrong. It is corruption. It is illegal. Whomever is doing it, whether it's service commissioner, whether it's the politician, I don't care who is doing it. It's wrong. Now, and Shilan has pointed that out again. Clearly, if you have a position where you cannot find people to fill the position, there's a scarcity of the skill. You could understand it is necessary to keep that person on. Because I remember within X-ray department, they were short staff when Lawrence did exit,
and
they asked him to stay on for time after time until they were able to you understand. So we understand all of those situations, because you are providing a service and you need the skilled people to continue to provide a service. But where there are people who can fill the position, it's not a staffing issue. There are skilled people, there are talented people, and there are qualified people. But you continue to ignore them by operating illegally. Both the Ministry of Health and service commissions. You continue to ignore them and you're operating illegally. You're retired. There are people to fill the position. You don't have a staffing issue. Move the person. Let the person go home and let the people fill the position. In fact, there are some cases, even when you have a staffing issue, hear what happened? And you have to bring somebody back because of your staffing issue. You don't bring them back where they live. You promote who has to be promoted, and you bring them back as an ordinary, let's say, pharmacist or an ordinary extra person or ordinary whatever, so that you continue to create the upward mobility, because there are skilled and talented people who can fill the position. And this is something within the public service that depresses. And you talking about is last week, I'm talking about mental health. This is a mental health issue. Every year you watching this post and you wondering, hey, why not? You ain't home?
But the same persons who telling you to enjoy good mental health is the one who are into your
Yeah.
mental disturbance.
And the people who talking about mental health is
Yeah.
Ministry of Health. And these things are happening right in Ministry of Health.
Exactly.
I saw it happening in nursing, right in low spinning to yes. And there are people who can fill the position. So you want, for whatever reason, you want to give them a contract. For whatever reason, they're not short staff, but you want to give them, not give them contract at the top. Allow the people to move up, and you bring them back in as ordinary nurses.
No, with that we can understand those non-pensionable workers. They're non-pensionable workers. When they retire, the NIS is not going to chip in until years later. And they would ask for contracts. Yeah, two. Some of them get it, some of them don't get it. That is understandable because they're the lower end of the salary scale and you don't have any income until you get your NIS money. So they may ask, and most of them do get it. I could understand that part, and give leverage for that part. But persons who are pensionable, who would get their pension, are the ones that look like fighting more for the contract than the people that are not pensionable.
And as Lani say, after every contract, I think they're yearly, and after every one, you get a gratuity, you get a pension, you get this, you get that. I mean, it's highway robbery. It's robbery, tantamount to corruption. Come on.
So, Shalian, could you, for our young workers, could you explain what a non-pensionable worker is?
So non-pensionable in terms of those who would get the government pension, because there's certain scale that would get just the NIS pension, and there are the other group of persons that would get when they retire, that would get the pension from the government in addition to the NIS pension.
Okay.
So the non-pensionable one, which is the lowest, I don't know where the scale starts, but the lower end of the salary scales are the ones that would only get the NIS pension and not pension from the government. No
Okay.
pension or gratuity, anything like that.
Okay.
So for them, we could understand them wanting to hold on a little bit longer because, you're not going to get your NIS coming in until, so there's no income until NIS comes in. So let's say you have 3-4 years, you're going to be waiting that long before your NIS. So they would ask for the time, and most of them would get it to lead them up until when they start getting the NIS.
Okay.
But not for the people who would knowingly get their lump sum of money.
So, who is an example of a non-pensionable worker?
For
Lani?
instance,
The nursing
the
aides,
officer
the office attendants, the community health aides, and so
Okay.
forth. Those group of persons who we were fighting. We did make that proposal to say make everybody pensionable. It might be at different levels, but that was one of the proposals that was put forward to.
But Sister Nayoka
You know,
is
in
not,
terms of
not
that.
as if they're going to get this big lump sum from NIS, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that is why we would often say persons would retire or are retiring into poverty, especially for the non-pensionable persons. Because you're retiring, you're not sure. Because if they don't grant you because they don't have to. And some persons have been denied. So if they don't grant you the extension,
Sad state of affairs.
But
You-
the
there's nothing
extension,
for you
you're not going to get extension at that lower end of the scale.
no, they would get the extension.
Okay.
They would, as I'm saying, those lower people like the ward assistant, that's if they ask, or the community health aid or the nursing aides, that category of, I could talk about health. And they ask for prior to, because they would know when their pension age is coming up and they would apply. Most of them do get it, a year, two, just to fill the gap until the NIS comes in, so they don't have this big period where they have no salary or no income at all. And some of them dread that time. There are persons who dread retiring because they realize it's easy to wake up and they have no salary, nothing
Especially if
coming
you have
in. What you going to
mortgage, you
do?
have children.
What you going to do? And that is when we made the proposal, when they made it an election political issue, but whatever it is. And we said, okay, this is what we're proposing to the two political parties, and pension across the board was one of them. We were trying to get the parties to commit, have something in writing to say when you get there, make sure that all the government workers in whatever category you're going to put them are pensionable. And somebody said persons who are non-pensionable were kicking against it because of politics. I couldn't understand it. We're fighting for you to be pensionable and
they're
putting
fighting
forward,
against themselves.
and you are saying the
That's
only thing you're
crazy.
seeing is color. You ain't studying. Whenever we reach, we cross that. But right now, I study in color.
Wow.
What you gonna do?
So we are almost to the end. Well, you have to say we are at the end. So any final words in wrapping up?
It's just to make an amendment to what our guest, Sister Olivia, would have said. I think she mentioned the age of criminal responsibility as 12, but it is actually 8 under the act that the law that we're using now. The one that she quoted from, it's not yet enforced. So it's just to make that correction on Sister Jeannie's behalf, so that persons don't go away getting the wrong information.
Okay.
Okay, I think they used to have a thing on Hot 97 would just get me vexed.
Yes.
Right.
They still have it.
Right. I want to maybe we should start doing this. Where A makes sense to me. A makes sense to me. So you have, and maybe at some time we'll have to have a further discussion on transfers. There is a public servant who graduated with a degree in youth development. They were transferred to mobilization, but not put to work in the youth department. Right? Their degrees in youth development. Now, so they spend like a few months mobilization, and then further transfer them to the magistrate court. And that is what just don't make sense to me. You have somebody who's trained in a specific area. We have within the ministry a specific area that deals with that where that skill is really needed. But you put the person with their training in youth development to work at the magistrate court. Does it make sense?
Not at all.
That just don't make sense to me.
That's true.
And with that, I go on.
we are out of time. So on behalf of the Public Service Union, we just want to thank you for having us.
Oh, Lani, just let me stick a pin there. I have just learned, because I just mentioned the issue with the chief pharmacist. I just learned that he gone.
Oh, okay.
So that is
From
very
when?
good. I
From
don't
this
know.
year?
Yeah, just learned that he gone.
For
But the
good?
point remains, because all the contracts that he has had before, in the first place, shouldn't have been given because there are people who could fill the position.
It has to
But
be
I've-
this year.
yes.
So may the peace of God be with you until next time. Peace out.
And the great one, Jamil.
Tell them I'm the strongest, so just get the hardest one.
Jamil.
Lose them soul figure in the world. When I